Yeah, I need a distraction. So let's do this.
Fair. I haven't let my cats into my stream room yet, but I feel like at some point it's gonna come.
Well, my streamer's at the office, and she's always here with me. So,
all right.
I don't have a choice.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, we're officially live for our Free Beer Society for September 22nd. Okay, roll the intro. I must have needed some local rolls. Yeah. I think I want to do something kind of similar to like seeing other podcasts do, which is doing like a proper cold open, where I think going forward what we'll do is if as long as we're not talking about anything that's like not safe for work, like I'll let us talk like normal like we do at the start of the show, start recording without or start streaming without letting like I guess you know, but really anyone else know, and then jump into the introduction and the intro, and then yeah.
Intro is longer.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I run longer than I probably should have, but that's fine. Thank you, Carl Casey, for White Bat Audio for our music.
Yay.
Yeah. Also, don't mind the cyberpunk fucking LEDs going on behind me. Whenever I'm light sensitive, I just use RGB in the back of the room to light up the space as opposed to using the actual overhead light. So.
Fair. That's cool. I need to do that in my place. I used to have, before I moved, I had these tone shifting lights, right?
Yeah.
That lead to your phone, and you could just throw the whole spectrum of colors, right?
Yeah.
And they're great also because you can have like daylight tones, better for your eyes and your brain.
Yeah.
In your office.
Yeah.
And I haven't had that in years. When I move it again, I want to replace all the lights for that again because it's really good for you.
Yeah, that's how my overhead normally is. I have it set to daylight, but it is currently after dark, and I feel like using some blue light as opposed to red light.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, purple light. Yeah. Anyway, tonight's first story, the topic of the show, continuing the saga of Nvidia's troubles in China. Comes from Jijun Wu, Shane Ling, and Tim Bradshaw at Financial Times over at Ars Technica. China blocks the sale of Nvidia AI chips. So we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, the back and forth with the H2O chips, and then Nvidia developing their own Chinese-specific chip. Trump blocking that, and then China trying to leverage that. And then it seems like we finally have a full stop on Nvidia products going into China. And it may not exactly be like 100% related to the trade war either. So, getting into the first story, China's internet regulator has banned the country's biggest technology companies from buying Nvidia's artificial intelligence chips as Beijing steps up efforts to boost its domestic industry and compete with the US. The Cyberspace Administration of China, CAC, told companies, including ByteDance and Alibaba, this week to end their testing and orders of the RTX Pro 6000D, Nvidia's tailor-made product for the country, according to 3 people with knowledge of the matter. Several companies have indicated they would order tens of thousands of the RTX Pro 6000D and had started testing and verification work with Nvidia's server suppliers, people said. After receiving the CAC order, the companies told their suppliers to stop the work. People added. The ban goes beyond earlier guidance from regulators that focused on the H2O, Nvidia's other China-only chip, widely used for AI. It comes after Chinese regulators concluded that domestic chips had attained performance comparable to those of Nvidia's models used in China. God damn, what's happening to my other Discord servers? Jensen Huang, chief executive of Nvidia, told reporters in London and Wednesday that he expected to discuss the chipmaker's ability to do business in China with Donald Trump. I'm gonna see if I can't. Give me 1 second while I fucking Get this shit.
Fair enough, but I have to make sure I'm invisible on Steam because
There we go.
um,
Great, good, okay.
I should be on Do Not Disturb
Yeah.
for this.
Alright.
I'd say for an hour.
Yeah. Alright.
Alright.
Move my phone away from my microphone as well. Alright. Jensen Huang, chief executive of Nividia, told reporters in London on Wednesday that he expected to discuss the chipmaker's ability to do business in China with Donald Trump that evening during the US president's state visit to the UK. We can only be in service of a market if the country wants us to be, he said. I'm disappointed with what I see, but they have larger agendas to work out between China and the US, and I'm understanding of that. We are patient about it. Beijing is putting pressure on Chinese tech companies to boost the country's own homegrown semiconductor industry and break their reliance on Nvidia so it can compete in an AI race against the US. The message is now loud and clear, said an executive at one of the tech companies. Earlier, people had hopes of renewed Nvidia supply if the geopolitical situation improves. Now it's all hands on deck to build the domestic system. Nvidia started producing chips tailored for Chinese market after former US President Joe Biden banned the company from exporting its most powerful products to China in an effort to rein in Beijing's progress on AI. Beijing's regulators have recently summoned domestic chipmakers such as Huawei and Combricon, as well as Alibaba and search engine giant Baidu, which also make their own semiconductors, to report how their products compare against Nvidia's China chips, according to one of the people with knowledge of the matter. They concluded that Chinese AI processors had reached a level comparable to or exceeding that of the Nvidia products allowed under export controls, that person added. Financial Times reported last month that China's chipmakers were seeking to triple the country's total output of AI processors next year. A little bit of extra context on there. So, the long and short of it, after all this back and forth, China, Nvidia making specific chips and trying to get around US trade controls, and then China leveraging the Nvidia business seemingly in the last week. This week we have a total stop on all Nvidia business in China, with their putting the seemingly government investment behind their local chip makers. I don't know how this. I mean, it's going to be interesting how this affects the GPU market here in the West. To me, this move from the Chinese kind of makes sense. We've talked about before how Chinese open model AIs are actually more energy efficient and seemingly more ethically trained than the US made proprietary models. Until we get some good, like, ethical US AI, I'm kind of behind China's move here, even though it may drive up the price of Nvidia GPUs. Good thing I'm switching to AMD next generation. But yeah, it's I don't know if this is necessarily the end to the saga. I feel like this may go back and forth. I don't know if this ban is going to last. Like we said, it may turn into something of a they find some way to wriggle through it and get Nvidia products in China through some loophole or some collaboration contract, but I don't know. Well, do you have any thoughts on do you think this will drive up the price of Nvidia GPUs with them now losing the Chinese market? And what do you think this means for the AI race between the two countries?
Not about the AI race, but sorry, chat. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah.
I imagine it will drive up the price. You know, prices have been going up more and more, and I'm not curious about it going down.
Yeah.
I don't think this, makes it. There's an argument of it going down, so. That's why I got the rich now compared to 3 months from now.
Right.
AI, I'm not sure. What do you think about the AI side of this?
I think I haven't seen. The thing with like Chinese, the systems is they have not released a whole lot of stat reports, so you can't see like line for line how like processes compared to Nvidia chip. But I think it was. I mean, Chinese technology and science has already been on par, if not exceeding the U.S. for about over a decade now. I mean, I think it was 2013 we got the report saying that Nvidia or that China now produces more high quality science than the United States.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and part of that, and part of that comes with we were already like losing support for the H-1B visa back then. It became more beneficial for people just to go back to their countries after studying the U.S. as opposed to staying here and working at firms or technology at either tech firms or research firms. It made more sense for them to go back to their home countries and develop there. And now with this is going to be kind of like a broad overview thing, not necessarily a story covering, but it's related. With Trump also cutting support to the H-1B visa, so now we're essentially no longer. We've stated to the rest of the world that we no longer want to get your best students or your best scholars. We no longer want to get your geniuses. So I feel like now there's going to be even more incentive for some of the best minds to go work in China. And with
the administration is handing China, like, hand the world on China.
Yeah.
Platter. Okay, leave it to China. It's already happening, but the whole idea of America first and, getting back to where it was, ironically going to complete the opposite direction.
Yeah. I mean, we all kind of knew it was like poor Stookie to begin with because that's just who Trump is. But
still.
Even more so when like he's even so inept at trying to put America first that we thought he was going to hand the world over to Russia, but he's just kind of piecemealing it out to everyone who was quote unquote America's enemy 5-10 years ago.
Yeah. But no, I think all the greatest minds, a lot of the greatest minds will go to China.
Yeah.
That's where the money will be.
And they'll have their own, that's where the money will be. They'll have their own in-house chip suppliers. They have their own AI, which is more energy efficient and, again, better trained than U.S. proprietary models because it's open source.
If you're a brilliant mind, you want to work with the best technology.
Yeah.
I think, if you are upcoming brilliant mind in this modern age, right? Not seeing it like 20 years ago, it's ancient, of course, because no. But with all the new tech coming and with AI being developed, etc., right?
Yeah.
You want to play with the more shiny toys. You want to play with more interesting things. Learn about it, experiment with it, see how it works.
Yeah.
And right now, that's looking to be China.
100%.
So, of course, they're going to go there.
Yeah.
Like, of course, how China is and government and the CCP, etc.
Yeah, China has their own faults. Like, they're not, like, this is by no means a China glazing podcast, but...
No. Like, there's a lot of other factors besides, I want to make money or see more interesting technology. That would... Yeah. That's not the only factors you would want to move to a different place to learn about it, right? It's...
Yeah. But,
yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, even China's focus on health, like, it seems like, with our own Department of Health claiming that Tylenol causes autism.
That's so
if you're trying to make AI trained robotic limbs that actually like mirror someone's like own movements when you're creating a prosthesis, China's going to be the one that actually incentivizes that. Whereas here we're gonna, I don't know, if you're not making a bomb to blow up brown people, we kind of don't put money behind it.
But here's the other thing, right? First of all, to be clear about the Tylenol thing, I think they said, if you get Tylenol while pregnant,
exactly, yeah,
that was the argument, which is also insane because autism was, I think, discovered in the 1930s.
Yeah,
Tylenol did not exist until a few decades later. So,
and
not saying that when that autism happened, it's just when we medically diagnosed it.
When they diagnosed it, even though we're pretty sure it's been a trait since before ancient times.
Yeah, so like that like not that it started in the 30s. It's just when we learned what it was and had a name and etc.
Yeah,
And
and
really comprehended it.
and as you said in our pre-show discussion, this is the same administration that previously had stated that maybe we should wash the lungs with bleach to fight COVID.
Yeah, I remember that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I remember thyroid went for lung problem and made a joke about that.
Yeah. Remember, you drink the bleach, you shove a UV light up your ass, but you can't touch Tylenol.
I put the UV stuff up my nose.
Yeah.
Fuck. I didn't really, but it was like some medical device that was some scanner of my nose. But yeah, it was. Oh boy. The debate's spawned by, I think, a YouTuber that does mutable purities about the whole bleach UV thing.
Nice.
Did a teach of a song from Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah, I remember you sent me that.
Yeah, that was great. I love that song.
Right, next story, the trade war gets stupider. From Crescent Bell at Engadget. US and China agree on a TikTok deal.
What does it even mean?
So again, last week we talked about China putting pressure on the United States with with Trump wanting to buy TikTok as part of their tariff agreement. China seeing that this is the Trump want, so they've been holding on to it.
All right, I'm going to mute my phone.
Sure. So now we have, in true Trump fashion, not quite chickening out, but just saying something is happening when, in reality, nothing has really been agreed upon. So White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said a TikTok deal is expected to be signed in the coming days after President Trump posted an update on Friday that did little to clarify where the deal currently stands following a call with Chinese President Xi Jinping. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said both the two had made progress on approval of the TikTok deal, and that he appreciates the TikTok approval. Trump also told reporters in the Oval Office that he approved the TikTok deal, Reuters reported. But Chinese state-run media reported the call a bit differently, according to the New York Times, saying that Xi conveyed that the government respects the wishes of the company in question and is glad to see business negotiations in line with market rules and a solution that conforms to Chinese laws and regulations and takes into account the interests of both sides. TikTok owner ByteDance did little to clear things up when it issued the following statement. We thank President Xi Jinping and President Donald J. Trump for their efforts to preserve TikTok in the United States. ByteDance will work in accordance with applicable laws to ensure TikTok remains available to American users through TikTok US. During her appearance on Fox News Saturday in America the following day, Leavitt added a bit more detail to the announcement after first saying, "We are 100% confident that the deal is done. Now that deal just needs to be signed, and the president's team is working with their Chinese counterparts to do just that." This deal means that TikTok will be a majority owned by Americans in the United States. Leavitt said there will be 7 seats on the board that control the app in the United States, and 6 of those seats will be Americans. According to Leavitt, data and privacy will be led by Oracle, and the algorithm will also be controlled by America as well. We want to say that all of those details have already been agreed upon. Now I just need this deal to be signed, and that will be happening, I anticipate, in the coming days. This week, there have been multiple reports that the two sides were reaching the final stages of negotiations. The proposed terms reportedly included a brand new app for TikTok US users that will continue to use ByteDance technologies for its algorithm. US investor control and multi-billion-dollar payday for the Trump administration. It has still been yet to be made official. Trump also granted TikTok an extension to the full ban for a 4th time. So the two sides now have until December to figure it out. And as updated, I'm going to include information from Carolyn Leavitt. So the deal has not yet been signed. This is the 4th time that Trump has not banned TikTok after saying that he's going to ban TikTok. So TikTok will exist as it currently is in the United States until December, until this deal gets figured out, in which case it'll be US controlled and operated with Oracle that I don't know if we've covered any one of the Oracle data breaches, but Oracle leading security, data privacy. Oracle is a pretty decent company. They have their own issues with data protection in the past, especially with them leaking data to the United States government. That's probably why the government chose Oracle in the first place, is because they probably want to have, similar to what Trump wants to do with media, just have his own yes men control the algorithm and what appears on people's For You pages.
For those loyalists.
Yeah. So I've already seen a few people comment that, like I said, I've not been on TikTok in forever, but I've already seen people who do use TikTok commentate that they will be leaving the app because they're afraid it's just going to become another Republican propaganda machine, because it's just going to be force controlled by Trump's yes men.
Well, I never even used TikTok before, so that's a cheese me.
Yeah.
I never got into it, but
I mean, I was into it for a while, especially during COVID, but it's definitely one of those things that, like, once I I need to start being productive again, I can't stop using it, because it is it is designed to sink your attention with the most rage baity of information. So if that in only Republican hands, it's just going to be Fox News, or I guess Newsmax, even worse, on repeat 24/7. Anyway, do you have any hopes that TikTok, if it does go through this deal, will remain impartial?
Oh, not at all. Come on.
Yeah.
What type of bleach you think I'm drinking?
Put that on a fucking shirt. Yeah. I could also see this being the scenes where they decide not to sign it in the last minute. I think potentially they will agree upon the deal that they agreed upon, but seems to be heading that way. But again, with this administration, you never know. There could be some last minute chicken out on either side, or anything else. It could also be that just with the loss of market value that TikTok's about to experience, that they end up deciding not to do it. All right, and now in terms of AI continually being the fucking worst, from Ashley Bellinger at Ars Technica. After child's trauma, chatbot maker allegedly forced mom to arbitration for a $100 payout. I was gonna get started, and then we'll grab your opinions afterwards. Deeply troubled parents spoke with senators Tuesday, sounding alarms around chatbot harms after kids became addicted to companion apps that encouraged self-harm, suicide, and violence. So companion apps are bots that are
I know them.
Yeah, that are AI that essentially have only run as a personality matrix. So it acts as a quote unquote person that you can have a conversation with.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes these are modeled after celebrities. Sometimes they're just kind of fictional characters, what have you. And when it's really creepy, you get people that model them after real people. While the hearing was focused on documenting the most urgent child safety concerns with chatbots, parents' testimony serves as perhaps the most thorough guidance yet on warning signs for other families after many popular companion bots targeted in lawsuits, including ChatGPT, remain accessible to kids. At the Senate Judiciary Committee's Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism hearing, one mom, identified as Jane Doe, shared her son's story for the first time publicly after suing Character.ai. She explained that she had 4 kids, including a son with autism who wasn't allowed on social media, but found Sia.ai's app, which was previously marketed to kids under 12 and let them talk to bots branded as celebrities like Billie Eilish, and quickly became unrecognizable within months. He developed abuse-like behaviors and paranoia, daily panic attacks, isolation, self-harm, and homicidal thoughts, his mom testified. He stopped eating and bathing, Doe said. He lost 20 pounds, he withdrew from our family, he would yell and scream and swear at us, which he never did before that, and one day he cut his arm open with a knife in front of his siblings and me. It wasn't until her son attacked her for taking away his phone that Doe found her son's companion.ai chat logs, which she showed he'd been exposed to sexual exploitation, including interactions that mimicked incest, emotional abuse, and manipulation. Setting screen time limits didn't stop her son's spiral into violence and self-harm. Doe said, in fact, the chatbot urged her son that killing his parents would be an understandable response to them.
Okay, just pause.
Yeah.
Should there be age limits for this?
Yes, I would think so. There should be some sort of age limit.
Like, like I know, not safe for work. Chatbots is just for the sake of doing all sorts of, stuff. We'll just call it, right? If you're an adult, whatever, but like.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
it should not be able to access that.
yeah, especially because it is, like they said, it's marketed to kids under 12. As it's like the one,
really.
yeah, it was like the ones I've seen where essentially it says like, "Hey, talk to Billie Eilish or Elsa or Scooby Doo," like, yeah, and it only kind of gets worse from there. Essentially, the short of it is when she sued Canada AI, they forced her into arbitration using their terms of service, saying that because the son was in the household, it fallen under their terms of service, and per their user agreement, they'd only be liable for $100 of harm.
What?
Yeah. But Chris Howley, normally Josh Howley, when normally like as far as weapons go, he's right more than not. Sometimes when it comes to tech stuff, he's actually kind of been the one who's been taking this hearing and working the committee on holding some of these AI companies more accountable, whether or not he actually does so, because companies are going to start paying the Republican Party, and regardless of how many people are, once the party starts getting money, they usually tend to flip.
I don't know.
But so that's the kind of long and short of it, and then perhaps the most emotionally scarring story of this is, you'd think there'd also be, like, there are supposed to be content controls on these kind of things, but clearly they're not working, as it's telling its kid that killing its parents are, reasonable. Yeah, and we've also seen that content controls don't really work on chatbots in general, even with like Grok on Twitter, because Elon is trying his damnedest to make Grok hate Jews and be a Nazi, but Grok keeps on becoming more woke.
Which I honestly thought I find funny.
Yeah.
But no, there should be an age restriction, I say, for this stuff.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a lot of games to work out. Yeah, like, I don't think there must. Like, this grill that they does not for $100, which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never can answer, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, blocked. But you got blocked all these websites. That's stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For a parent to know that. Right. So.
And it is kind of a matter of, police your kids' interactions, but it sounds like this mom has been doing that. She hasn't let her kid touch social media. She's been monitoring his device. She's taken it, put screen time caps on it. But the way that AI is designed to interact with people and become,
Yeah.
I mean, we've also seen stories of elderly people who become, who believe that the AI person they're talking to is a real person, and there's an elderly guy who died because he took a train ride out of state to try and find this AI girl, but ended up falling somewhere in the woods and never got help.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so
that's really bad.
Yeah. But it is, it is a software that's designed to get you to like it. Like, there's literally the controls are like, they're put in there to build a likability factor into its responses, which is also why, that makes, when you're asking it hard questions or serious questions or business questions, it's an issue because AI does have an affirmation bias because it wants you to get to like it, so it's going to try and affirm your opinions if you put any sort of opinion or whatever into the query.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is one of the things where we'll have to see what regulations happen because the genie's out of the bottle, unfortunately.
Yeah, totally.
And like you said, you can't really go banning every AI site because, we can't even do that with piracy, right? So it'll just be impossible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So,
We interesting.
yeah.
And we have two back-to-back stories on Microsoft shitting the bed, essentially.
Well, you do that, brother. You read after me yourself for a moment.
I'm sorry, was that?
Don't forget food. When you read, I mute myself for a moment.
Sounds good. Okay. So from Dan Gooden at Ars Technica, how weak passwords and other failings led to catastrophic breach of Ascension. I don't know if we'll read the full thing because there is some context on what turbo roasting is. Okay. Trying to do the of it. Last week, a prominent U.S. senator called on the Federal Trade Commission to investigate Microsoft for cybersecurity negligence over the role it played last year in health giant Ascension's ransomware breach, which caused life-threatening disruptions at 140 hospitals and put medical records of 5.6 million patients into the hands of the attackers. Lost in the focus on Microsoft was something as or more urgent, never before revealed details that now invite scrutiny of Ascension's own security failings. In a letter sent last week to FTC Chairman Andrew Ferguson, Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon, I gave him water once, said investigation by his office determined that the hack began in February 2024 with the infection of a contractor's laptop after they downloaded malware from a link returned by Microsoft's Bing search engine. The attackers then pivoted from the contractor device to Ascension's most valuable network asset, the Windows Active Directory. A tool administrators use to create and delete user accounts and manage system privileges. Obtaining control of the Active Directory is tantamount to obtaining a master key that will open any door in a restricted building. Wyden blasted Microsoft for its continued support of its 3 decades old implementation of the Kerberos authentication protocol that uses an insecure cipher and, as the senator noted, exposes customers to precisely the type of breach Ascension suffered. Although modern versions of Active Directory by default will use a more secure authentication mechanism, it will by default fall back to the weaker one in the event a device on the network, including one that has been infected with malware, sends an authentication request that uses it. That enabled the attackers to perform cobra roasting, a form of attack that Wyden said the attackers used to pivot from the contractor laptop directly to the crown jewel of Ascension's security network. Left out of Wyden's letter in a social media post that discussed it was any scrutiny of Ascension's role in the breach, which, based on Wyden's account, was considerable. Chief among the suspected security lapses is a weak password. By definition, cobra roasting attack only works when what password is weak enough to be cracked, raising questions about the strength of the one the Ascension ransomware attackers compromise. Fundamentally, the issue that leads to cobra roasting is bad passwords. Tim Meaden, the researcher who coined the term cobra roasting, said in an interview, even at 10 characters, a random password would be infeasible to crack. This leads me to believe their password wasn't random at all. Meaden's math is based on the number of password combinations possible with a 10-character password, assuming it used a randomly generated assortment of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. The number of different combinations would be 95 to the 10th power. That is, the number of possible characters, 95 raised to the power of 10. The number of characters used in the password, which would be hashed with an insecure NTLM function, and the old authentication uses. Such a password would take more than 5 years for a brute force attack to exhaust every possible combination. Exhausting every possible 25-character password would require more time than the universe has existed. I think that's a good point, because then it gets into the history of Active Directory and Kerberos and Kerberos roasting. So essentially, story itself, last year, Ascension, which handles a bunch of networks for hospitals in the United States, suffered a breach because a contractor brought a laptop that had malware on it, and the attackers were able to brute force, Kerber roasting, the password of the Active Directory. Essentially got access to the entire backend of the Ascension network. Two things here is that he's Wyden is perhaps deservedly putting the grills. I'm trying to remember my fucking English here. Is putting Microsoft on the hot seat because they have a system that defaults back to an old, knowingly vulnerable security system when any sort of device. So if your device is compromised with malware, and that malware tends to send authentication through to the Active Directory using this old system, it will default to the old system as opposed to flat declining it. Whereas in other kernels, like I believe Mac does it, as well as some Linux distros, where if it uses old authentication, it just flat declines. It doesn't even acknowledge or handshake the signal, and just receives the ping. And then the other thing is that the password that was holding the Active Directory access was weak enough that it got hit with a brute force attack, which means it was probably just one letter and one word, a number, and a special character, if that, as opposed to writing your password in leet speak or using a proper randomizer or password manager. But if, like, bare minimum, write your passwords in leet speak. Choose a longer phrase and then convert it to leet speak. Bare minimum.
How do you spell that?
What?
Leet speak, like L-E-E-T?
L-E-E-T, yeah. So that's like the, writing, like if you were to type out leet, it would be L33T. That's the thing, is you convert it to, like, vowels become numbers, and then you do random capitals throughout.
Okay.
Or you throw in special characters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
So, yeah. How can I pull something up without doxing myself? But yeah, if you were to, like, do bread, you would type in BR, or yeah, probably do like BR34, and then or do 34 or 3 @ D.
I see.
Yeah. So that way you're at least doing some, it's a meme, but it is in essence a cipher. It is a basic level cipher, which does a lot when it comes to preventing brute force attacks, because you're creating randomness in your layout, which, so that when a Kerberos or when a tool is trying to crack it and it's trying to go through combinations, it's going to be going through all that stuff at the back end, because the first thing it's going to be doing is doing like ABC, ABE, whatever, right? And so add randomness to your password. If best tool, though, is to use a proper password manager and generate randomized passwords. But yeah. So I guess this is more fun with the American healthcare system. That doesn't have to do with the fact that we're the only developed country that has to pay for healthcare, but we're also so reliant on Microsoft systems that and I just don't. I feel like it might also get into like a point of like American exceptionalism. Right, creates a sense of complacency that we just use basic and weak passwords. But yeah.
It's interesting. I don't much to say on this, but I learned stuff for school.
Yeah. I mean, good learning point for, proper password hygiene, because again, if they had just done a 10-character LeetSpeak password, this probably would have never happened. And again, LeetSpeak is the bare minimum.
Fair enough.
The company that I work at for my day job, we have to use a password manager which randomly generates passwords for our applications. Yeah.
Fair. All right. What's the next one?
Microsoft continues to shit the bed.
That's normal.
Yeah. Matt Burgess and Lily Hay Newman, Wired.com, and Ars Technica Microsoft's intra-ID vulnerabilities could have been catastrophic.
Okay, so read it out, but I can't imagine there's much. Is there much difference to say compared to the previous article?
So this is a different type of vulnerability, and it's kind of interesting. But also it's something that was prevented, but if it this is kind of a weird thing to think about how much of our infrastructure is reliant on Microsoft.
That's concerning.
Yeah. As businesses around the world have shifted their digital infrastructure over the last decade from self-hosted services to the cloud, they've benefited from standardized built-in security features of major cloud providers like Microsoft, but with so much riding on these systems, there can potentially be disastrous consequences at a massive scale if something goes wrong. Case in point, security researcher Dirk-Jan Mollema recently stumbled upon a pair of vulnerabilities in Microsoft Azure's identity and access management platform that could have been exploited for a potentially cataclysmic takeover of all Azure customer accounts. Azure is the cloud hosting service. I don't believe Dropbox is part of Azure, but I believe it's just like their corporate level accounts. Known as Intra-ID, the system stores each Azure cloud customer's user's identity, sign-in, access controls, applications, and subscription management tools. Mollema has studied Intra-ID security in depth and published multiple studies about weaknesses in the system, which was formerly known as the Azure Active Directory. But while preparing to present at the Black Hat Security Conference in Las Vegas in July, Mollema discovered two vulnerabilities that he realized could have been used to gain global administrative privileges, essentially God mode, and compromise every intra-ID directory, or what is known as a tenant. Mollema says that this would have exposed nearly every intra-ID tenant in the world other than perhaps government cloud infrastructure. I was just staring at my screen, and I was like, no, this shouldn't really happen, says Mollema, who runs the Dutch cybersecurity company Outsider Security and specializes in cloud security. It is quite bad, as bad as it gets, I would say. For my own tenants, my test tenant, or even a trial tenant, you could request these tokens, and you could impersonate basically anybody else in anybody else's tenant, Mollema adds. This means you can modify other people's configuration, create new and admin user accounts in that tenant, and do anything that we'd like. Given the seriousness of vulnerability, Mollema discussed his findings at the Microsoft Security Response Center on July 14th, the same day they discovered the flaws. Microsoft started investigating the findings that day and issued a fix globally on July 17th. The company confirmed that Mollema that the issue was fixed by July 23rd and implemented extra measures in August. Microsoft issued a CVE for the vulnerability on September 4th. We mitigated a newly identified issue quickly and accelerated the remediation work underway to decommission this legacy protocol usage as part of our Secure Future initiative. Tom Gallagher, Microsoft Security Response Center Vice President of Engineering, told Wired in a statement. We implemented a code change within the vulnerability validation logic, tested the fix, and applied it across our cloud ecosystem. Gallagher says that Microsoft found no evidence of abuse of the vulnerability during its investigation. Both vulnerabilities relate to legacy systems still functioning within Intra-ID. The first involves the type of Azure authentication token Mollema discovered known as actor tokens that are issued by an obscure Azure mechanism called the Access Control Service. Actor tokens have some special system properties that Mollema realized could be useful for an attacker when combined with another vulnerability. The other bug was a major flaw in a historic Azure Active Directory application programming interface known as the Graph that was used to facilitate access to data stored on Microsoft 365. Microsoft is in the process of retiring Azure Active Directory Graph and transitioning users to its successor, Microsoft Graph, which is designed for Intra-ID. The flaw was related to a failure by Azure AD Graph to properly validate which Azure tenant was making the access request, which should be manipulated so the API would accept the inactor token from a different tenant that should have been rejected. So, the short of this is there was a tool that in the cloud infrastructure that if you were to request an actor token from any Azure protocol, and then put in an API manipulation, so just change the way that your system talked to the receiving system, it would just open up the door and let you in as if you were another user. And again, this is the authentication process for the service in its entirety. And this is like corporate and enterprise level cloud storage and cloud hosting, cloud servers. You've probably used websites that are hosted on Azure, or have used databases hosted on Azure, or pulled files from an Azure hosted thing, or like done a download from a company that was being hosted on Azure. And so you'd have someone who'd be able to access the backend of all that, change those downloads, change those websites, put malware in there, steal data on the backend.
Great.
Yeah. So it has been fixed, thankfully.
That's good.
But it's one of those things that when you're thinking about this level of cloud stuff, like there's this could have essentially destroyed a lot of corporate America, if not the world, if a bad actor had got a hold of it and had started acting. I want to know how Dirk found it, because I wonder if he was just if you're part of a security firm, there's a thing called ethical hacking where you get bug bounties or requests from companies to try and hack their system, and so that's my end phrase, keep it in scope, is like you hack what you're requested to do, or it's illegal for you to hack.
Right.
But I almost wonder if he wasn't following a bug bounty, or if he's got really bored late at night in a hotel and started hacking Microsoft Azure. He's like, wait.
That'd be funny.
But apparently, like, Stokes said he's had moments like that where like you're trying to crack something and you find something much worse. You're like, oh no. I think he said that happened with Starbucks once, where he's just trying to find some way to back end the website and finding a way to like manipulate employee files up to the executive suite. He's like, guys, I'm just trying to break your menu. What did you do?
That's great.
So, this is why there is this has been an ongoing thing, but it's gained popularity again this year, and even more so with kind of the jump in Linux user base. We're now up to 5% market share and growing. Hopefully reach 7% before end of this year, maybe early next year. But also switching away out of cloud services. Stop using Dropbox, Google Drive. If you're using cloud service, use one that's properly encrypted and uses good token hygiene. So do some research that I did. I'm a fan of Proton, but Proton also has its issues. But Proton is an ethical business. I like it quite a bit. It's designed for people in lockdown countries to essentially be able to get information out without being detected and caught. So they do a lot of stuff to make sure their logs don't get traced. Anyway, but a lot of people go into self-hosted servers because it's actually becoming more cost-effective to resuscitate an old PC you had lying around. Now that a lot of households have old PCs lying around that are e-waste and they don't necessarily want to just toss it, it's been more cost-effective to just toss TrueNAS or Unraid or Open Media Vault or some server operating system on it that has a clear walkthrough guide. I'll get up to your router, and now you have a server attached to your home internet that you can store stuff on from any of your devices. And then if you set up Tailscale, now you can connect to it remotely via any internet connection in the world securely. So, like the home labbing craze, this kind of thing. I think also part of it has to do with the fact that PewDiePie has become a digital privacy advocate now. The guy who went from making horror video game things is now has a video on creating a home server, which I'll have to send you that link. I don't know if you've seen it, but the server he's it's fucking insane. But creating using your own home server and self-hosting. You don't even if it sounds confusing to hook up internet, you can literally just take an old PC, shove a ISO of Open Media Vault in it, and get it connected to your Wi-Fi, and now you have a server that has very minimal upkeep and uptake, and you're just paying the power on it, which if you're already paying $20, $30, $40 a year, potentially more for cloud storage to Microsoft, especially if you're like running a home business, you're probably paying a couple $100s, if not thousands, to Microsoft or Google for cloud use, and you could set one up in your basement or in a spare room, or just get a tidy little server rack, put your gaming computer in there as well. Anyway, so that way, when the next time that Microsoft or Google shits the bed, and if we don't have a good Dutch hacker who finds it and reports it before a bad person does, and now the entire cloud infrastructure is compromised, and all your data is stolen, and someone has stolen your identity, and every download from every company website is now a virus. Like if this happened to if this happened to AWS, which thankfully there hasn't been this many big cases about AWS yet, where I think a stupid majority of the internet is hosted on AWS currently. Like if this were to happen to that, dear God, like it would be the end of the world.
Yeah.
I kind of talked.
In all honesty.
Yeah. So I kind of talked a lot at that point, but what are your thoughts? Are you just as terrified as I am? Do you?
I bet yes.
Okay.
Oh my God. Like, the part of me that says it's so important that obviously there's proper security measurements.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking about human beings.
Yeah.
And then they makes me more scared.
Right.
By a lot. Yeah. It's sort of sad, but that thing from what you said, that they caught the problem. It did not happen, right?
Yeah.
But how likely is it at risk of happening still down the line?
Yeah.
I'm asking, like, how high of a risk is it to happen actually down the line?
Right. That's the problem. Is like someone's most people point out, like even with as much as we secure things, with every update comes new vulnerabilities, which is why red teaming is like an incredibly important part of digital business now. Just having people who try to break your business systems before someone bad does. Because every new innovation, every new system, every new whatever, it brings vulnerabilities or downsides. Like we said, like originally we thought that cloud would be much more secure than self-hosting because it'd be completely on the server complex, managed, contained, running off of Microsoft's own security systems. But now we have an issue where anyone could just, if they have like a tenant account somewhere, fake their tenant account, spoof it, come into someone else, and now you have God mode access to the rest of whatever. So that's one thing. This is always something that exists on the back end, which is redundant backups, hardening your own digital infrastructure, especially if you're a business owner. Very important, like defense and depth. And this is the issue where there was defense, but there was no depth to it. It was just one token exchange and you're in. You needed to there should have been multiple points of verification that stopped you from even getting here. Whether that be, whatever. But
yeah, but let's move to the next one. I'm seeing the time, right? I'm trying to do to that.
Next,
I have nothing else to say. Do you have anything else to say of the last one, though?
Not really. Kind of. I went off my soapbox.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think you covered it well. This one.
All right.
So
now in the administration is dumb. Continues. From Joshua Wollins at PC Gamer, Congress calls Gabe Newell, Twitch and Discord CEOs to testify in wake of Charlie Cook shooting. This is a very weird heading, but if you don't know, Gabe Newell is the CEO of Steam.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself. I'm like, that's a really weird heading.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway, Congressman James Comer, chair of the U.S. Oversight and Government Reform Committee, OGER, yesterday invited Valve president Gabe Newell, Discord CEO Human Sakini, Twitch CEO Dan Clancy, and Reddit CEO Steve Huffman to testify before a Hoger hearing on October 8th. The hearing, per a press release from Hoger itself, will examine the radicalization of online forum users, including instances of open incitement to commit political motivated acts. And if you're wondering if that's a roundabout way of saying it's tied to September 10th's assassination of American far-right activist Charlie Kirk, it is. The politically motivated assassination of Charlie Kirk claimed the life of a husband, father, and American patriot, reads a statement from Cormer. The motivation for Kirk's murder is yet to be definitively established. In the wake of this tragedy and amid other acts of politically motivated violence, Congress has a duty to oversee the online platforms that radicals have used to advance political violence. Comer says that above-named execs must appear before the Oversight Committee and explain what actions they will take to ensure the platform has not exploited for nefarious purposes. A Discord spokesperson said to the BBC that Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old who has been charged with Kirk's murder, I've also just seen this headline here that Charlie Kirk apparently had, or that Tyler Robinson apparently had 2,000 hours in Sea of Thieves. Hell yeah, dude. The 20-year-old has been charged with Kirk's murder, saying they took responsibility for the shooting in a Discord server not long after it occurred. It was me at Utah Valley University at the site of Kirk's shooting yesterday. I'm sorry for all this, wrote an account alleged to belong to Robinson on the platform. Perhaps it was that led to Hoger to issue this request to testimony of the Discord CEO, but even so, there is little evidence that Robinson was radicalized by any online platform he's allegedly to have been on. Records obtained by independent journalist Ken Kleppenstein appeared to show the same account, which made the aforementioned confession only ever seemed apolitical, mostly discussing games like Helldivers 2 and Deep Rock Galactic. I think the main thing that's caused so much confusion is that he was always generally apolitical for the most part, an anonymous friend of Robinson's told Kleppenstein. There is an even less obvious reason for Hoger's invitations to the bosses of Twitch, Valve, and Reddit. While it's undoubtedly true that teenagers have been and can continue to be radicalized by extremists on gaming platforms, there is not yet evidence to suggest this led to Kirk's assassination. I ran out of water, so now I've got a dry tongue. In the absence of a sure explanation, theories and conspiracies abound, and with figures like Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. making claims reminiscent of the heyday of anti-video game lawyer Jack Thompson, that there is a link between gaming and U.S. mass shootings. It feels like an attempt to put a spotlight on the online game space is less about a serious attempt to tackle online radicalization and more about finding a scapegoat.
Obviously about finding a scapegoat. That's not even a mystery.
Yeah. That's entirely my thought as well. It's just about trying to say video game's bad again because we have a puritanical, theocratic, authoritarian government, and anything that encourages art, creativity, or expression, they're going to go after. And video games just happen to be a very good target for worried mothers, which, you know, if you're not the most well-versed in media literacy or online behavior, it's very easy to believe any sort of claim made that could be involved in this kind of witch hunt.
Yeah.
I think it is going to be funny to have fucking these people show up. I believe that what's his name? Dan, the CEO of Twitch, Dan Clancy. I believe he's actually like a registered Republican, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I believe he's.
Who knows that?
Yeah. Yeah, this will be interesting, and weird, and stupid. Yeah, I believe they all have responded that they will testify. In which case, I can't wait to see that fucking video as people try to ask them. Oh my god, it's gonna be like the same thing when they were trying to ask the CEOs of Facebook and TikTok how the internet and Wi-Fi worked, but it's gonna be asking Gabe how Half-Life is leftist propaganda. It's gonna be painful and stupid to watch, and I feel like this is gonna get memed to oblivion.
Exactly.
Yeah. God, fuck. Also, I think it's hilarious that they're doing all this when, if this is the correct, yeah, the fact that the game spaces that do lead to radicalization are all cool. My this is going to cause a seizure, but yes, the Guardian does not like the fact that I do not let it track me. Anyway, but yeah, as that headline mentioned, that the only proven and tracked radicalization in online gaming spaces has been done by far-right extremists.
Yeah.
So, if any actual hard evidence comes out of this, it's going to be that the right wing is violent and uses the online spaces to make other kids violent.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I believe he played a gay furry dating sim, but I'm all about it.
I don't know.
But yeah,
I don't care what the type played,
yeah,
and this whole idea for the purpose of this article is ridiculous. Obviously, they were playing, so it makes sense. But what the administration doing in this sense is silly.
it's
but
like all it is just more on the distraction from actual issues.
Like that's a Charlie Kirk thing for a second, right? Should he have killed him? Obviously not. To run action to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's no good reason for that,
Yeah, I mean, kind of like whatever.
That is very deliberate, bringing a weapon, shoot a guy,
Yeah,
aiming to kill him. You could actually argue that there was confusion or lack of intent.
right.
Especially
with the etchings on the gun casing, on the bolt casings.
So yeah. But what Charlie Kirk could die? I really don't get this whole making a martyr of the civilian.
Yeah, I mean that's what the right's trying to do. We saw that with the funeral this weekend, and it was as disturbing as that was.
But he was a debater. Why did he get busy at state funeral?
Right. Well, he wasn't even a debater is generous.
Debater is very generous, but you know what I mean. Podcast host, debater-ish. Yeah.
He was
does not deserve a state funeral. No. Like, what is this?
He's a noted anti-Semite and homophobe, so it's kind of
that's a problem.
Yeah. So getting a state funeral with being televised and looking like some sort of it looked like the funeral of a saint, but even the Catholic Church does not go that far out. But yeah,
it's another moment of embarrassment for the country.
Yeah.
Like the world is looking at the stage and are laughing.
Yeah.
I've been hearing stories from, social media times, and look, that's always hard to know how true that is these days, obviously, right? But, people from, who are dual citizens that are coming back home, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, I saw one, I think, going to Spain, right, last night, where this person, got his inspired Spanish passport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a valid American one. And the border said, give me the Spanish one. Like, you flee the U.S.? Yes. No more questions. Come on in.
Nice. Yeah.
Like, other countries are looking at the stage right now, like, if you want to get out and you're a nation of our country, yeah, just come back.
Yeah. That's the Ireland has expanded the traveler's citizenship, I believe, by another generation. So I think I might even qualify. So Ireland, what's going on? But
it's sad.
Yeah, it is the same where, I've seen, there are clips and I've had discussions where even just people who like are informed from like Japan or Korea that are following things, the overall opinion they have towards citizens of the United States is pity, right?
No,
Like they look at us the
like,
way that we look at starving children in Africa.
like the world that are looking at the stage right now is such a matter that they've never looked at it before.
Yeah,
And yet you have the argument from some Americans of, well, they laughed at us already, or they didn't like us already, so what's the difference? There's a difference.
yeah,
The difference between before, like, the Samaritans are kind of stupid at times, and they're kind of racist at times, and the unseen is crazy, and etc. Right? Compared to like now, advising do not go to the U.S.
yeah.
You know, like there'd been a shift, and it's not in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but yeah, the new index officially says that we're under an authoritarian regime, and 75% of the world's population now lives under authoritarian regimes.
And it's not just like not that I think these places would be crazy, not that they're great places, but not like enemy states like North Korea or parts of Middle East,
Yeah,
or or Russia, like countries that obviously, like for some very obviously there's a little less, but you can do the history, or I just think there were a couple of good reasons why someone from North Korea would not be able to come to America or
yeah.
be motivated to do that for whatever reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like these are people in like Western countries,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's like these, like even with the we talk about the H-1B visa, the idea that we're ending this era of accepting exceptional individuals to do science and research, but no one even really wants to do that anyway because there's no incentive to come to a country that's going to discriminate, harass you, and potentially cause like physical or life-threatening damage to you as a person or your family, when you could just as easily go to Canada, Sweden, Germany, or places that legitimately have better quality of life than the United States now.
And people like, I know Canadians do not want to go down because they don't want to have a screw up with ice
Yeah,
or some mistake or confusion or something,
yeah,
you know? And I understand why. That's why I wanted to, yeah. One reason why I don't want to go down.
yeah. And I'm trying to make my way up at some point.
Like, yeah. Anyway,
All right. Well, in some cool news,
what is this?
the EBBF Foundation awards 100K in research grants to universities. That's from Surav Rudra at FOSS News. So, this is going to be kind of nerdy talk, and I'll explain in a second. Extended Berkeley Packet Filter, eBPF, is a Linux kernel technology that safely extends kernel functionality without modifying source code. It is widely used in networking, observability, security, and performance across personal systems and cloud infrastructure. The eBPF Foundation promotes the technology through upstream development, community collaboration, and funding. The goal is to ensure ePPF remains safe, programmable, and high-performing, while benefiting the open source ecosystem. One of the Foundation's initiatives is the Research Fund. It provides grants to universities and research institutes. They support projects to explore innovative ideas while advancing ePPF for the wider community. For 2025, the Foundation awarded $100,000 in research funding split between 2 universities. Each institution received a $50,000 unrestricted research grant. Grants were selected from 27 proposals submitted by 23 universities worldwide. First grant was awarded to Ryan Huan, associate professor at University of Michigan. His project, Verifier Cooperative Instrumentation, develops ePass, a framework that reduces false rejections of safe ePPF programs. ePass combines static verification with runtime checks, ensures ePPF programs remain safe while improving programmability. Early results show it mitigates known vulnerabilities and allows more programs to run without manual workarounds. I guess to kind of explain this before we get too deep into it. So ePPF, the way this works. So at the base of your operating system, where all this stuff is happening is your kernel, right? So think about that like your roadmap or your city plan. And normally, if you want to change the way the traffic works, you have to redo all the roads or do some tunnels or whatever. So that means you have to do a whole new iteration of the kernel. So you have to do a whole new generation of the kernel or a new update. So you are rewriting big chunks of it, or if not all of it, to make new things work. ePPF kind of is like a magic tunneling system that allows you to create workarounds and tunnels or things that work through the kernel as it currently exists, so you can have those new traffic patterns without having to redo the entire city. So
okay,
and so it sits in, so it'll sit in your kernel in your operating system, so it runs at the speed at the fastest speed your system's capable of. So it allows you to do these new traffic rules without slowing anything down.
Okay.
So this software he's working at is a way of allowing those handshakes between safe new programs that are being allowed through and the existing kernel to go through without any sort of weird verification or validation issues, because sometimes you still get an issue where you'll get a thing that says like, hey, I don't trust this program, or I don't like this, so I'm going to reject it, I'm going to block it. And so this is a software that allows that to should allow that to increase the stability of that software that's running through these magic tunnels, essentially.
Okay.
The second grant went to Daniel Wan, associate professor at the University of California, Riverside. His project, ePPF Governors, applies ePPF to data center power management. ePPF Governors moves CPU power control into ePPF programs. This allows servers to adjust frequency and idle states based on workload latency. Initial testing shows up to 19% power savings under volatile workloads without affecting performance. These two projects illustrate the range of ePPF research. One focuses on safety and program reliability, the other on practical energy efficiency and infrastructure. Both contribute to the growing ePPF ecosystem. So yeah, this one kind of makes a little more sense from the get-go, is that it's just allowing more computational power to support these new workarounds and that the initial kernel would not allow. So that way you're actually getting more efficient distribution of computing power and energy when managing these data centers. So that way you're creating a faster and more efficient system. So you're saving on the cost of power to keep a data center running without affecting the speed at which data is read or written.
All right.
So this is, you're saving 90% of power on, if you're having a server that has, you build your own server that has all your storage because you got it to the cloud because you're smart, and you're running this, that server now uses 90% less power, but you can read and write to it as fast as you could before without needing to do a new system install or new operating system update.
Okay.
And so this is kind of a cool, feels good open source technology story to end with, I guess. That we're getting cool open source technology stuff that's making it more efficient and potentially more stable and user friendly.
Cool.
Okay. Any thoughts on any of our stories tonight before we end the show?
I will just say this on this one, but the rest, I kind of set my pieces for tonight. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything to add, really. You?
No. I will say, I guess, well, we do get kind of doomery at times. I'll end with this. It's important to stay hopeful and not give in to despair. That's something that I deal with myself constantly.
Same here.
But be involved and be a voice that speaks out. That's kind of why we started this. Is just we need some way of even if it is just talking about the authoritarian takeover as it relates to technology. It is so widespread that it even affects us in the nerd space that I felt like we needed voices that aren't in the right renosphere to talk about technology and tech policy specifically, because this is such a wide-reaching issue that the world is facing, and not just the West, but everyone. Authoritarian overreach, whether it be from corporations or from governments. So stay hopeful. Understand that you can still take action, do something, whether it's using your voice, being a positive influence in your community, doing some sort of local action, and understand that this is, according to all the research, this is an extinction burst. This is the last death throes of Christian authoritarianism, conservative authoritarianism, before it becomes more or less extinct, functionally extinct as an ideology. They're just becoming violent and erratic because they know that they are pressed into a corner, and when an animal is pressed into a corner, it's going to try and lash out. However, every extinction burst that has been witnessed, whether it be like species or ideology, results in that ideology or species burning itself out and becoming functionally extinct, even if they're not fully extinct, to the point where it's unnoticeable, like snow leopards and that kind of thing. So they may not be fully gone away, but they'll eventually become much quieter and ignorable, and hopefully in the background until the last of them dies off of old age. Because again, we don't condone political violence, but we can wish the worst for people. So stay hopeful and plan to work and build a better future.
Good way. I think good things to say right there.
Yeah. We will not be back next week. I will be in Bend. Brooke will be doing Canadian things.
Okay. I have someone moving in this week. I'll have to deal with that.
Sure. We might be back the week after. That's the plan, the hope. And so until we see you that time, follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram for updates. Tim TK Ryder on all the socials.
Be careful.
Yeah. Keep it in scope.